Do you ever like get a text from somebody and then you check the text so that the notification goes away, or maybe you accidentally check the text but you like don't have the capacity to respond, but you have every intention that you're going to reply to that text, but then you don't, and then as more time goes by it's just like more and more awkward that you haven't replied to them? That's how I feel about this YouTube channel. So hello, hi, welcome to my first video in 2 years. I have wanted to upload videos for a while, but it just seems like there's so much and I don't have time to edit anything, and you know, just life, the life and times. So, you know, but it just turns out that the longer that it goes, the more that happens, and the harder it seems to ever be able to feel caught up. I don't know what that means. This is a channel with hardly, you know, an active subscriber base. I am performing to an audience of none, but I guess we put these expectations on ourselves. So what is this? This is going to be like my fastest attempt at like the biggest life update ever. So I'm probably just going to try to like rapid fire all kinds of life events, and then I think that if there's anything that might be worth making an actual video about, it can be like a story time video or something. I don't know. That's what I'm telling myself anyway, so that I don't get too lost in the sauce and make like a 3-hour feature-length film. First, I was thinking about what I wanted to say while I was doing my makeup, and what floated to the surface of my consciousness was thank you. If you're watching this video, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. Thank you for giving a shit about what's up with me. I know that I made a joke about how this channel has a very small subscriber base that's active, but that doesn't mean that y'all don't exist. I still get comments on old videos all the time of people being so kind and supportive and wondering what I'm up to. And it's not like these are like droves of comments, obviously, but some of my older videos do continue to make the rounds from time to time. And, you know, when they do every year, like clockwork, there's kind of like a surge of interest in people like, what's she up to? And then they come to my channel and it's like a ghost town. Which is so weird because I spend so much time on YouTube. I'm just a consumer usually. But I've always loved this community, like the greater internet community as a whole, and also this community of people who watch these videos, whoever they are, and for whatever reason. This channel has always been so just chaotic, like me in my life. So you could be here because of my MLM content, you could be here because of mental health content, you could be here because of curly hair content, or some nature content, whatever. Like I've always tried to remove as many barriers as possible between me and putting things online, because it's always something I've been interested in doing, but I just am real bad. I'm just real bad at doing things. So I don't need more hurdles. And the length of time that has occurred since the last time I actually posted an update has become quite a hurdle. And yet, from time to time, I do still get positive and kind comments. And so I guess I really just want to say, hey, thanks for caring. Thanks for reaching out. I realize the vast majority of people are not going to really care. Like, I'm just like a random no person, but there are some people who, you know, are here for that. So, hi. Enough of that. On to the life updates. So, most of what I've posted about in the last, my hands are so like, what do I do with them? Most of what I've posted about in the last couple years has just been music, and that's because it has kind of just become my life as much as I can have it be my life. I could take that statement in a million different directions, but I guess to start somewhat at the beginning, I've always loved music. It's always been a huge part of my life. I sang on stage for the first time when I was like 2 or 3 years old. My mom is a performer, and so I grew up around that. It took me a long time to learn to play the guitar or any other instrument because I always had somebody around me who played. And you've seen me play guitar, usually quite badly from time to time on this channel. And when it comes to music as well, I've really tried to let people see progress instead of expecting myself to be perfect, because I could just spend the whole day trying to shoot a video because I want it to be perfect. And that's frustrating for me, and also just not reflective of real life, you know? Sometimes when you see someone do something badly, you think to yourself, like, well, I could do that. And then you do. And so if I'm your like inspiration to just go do something slightly less badly, take that inspiration and go live your best life. So for me, that's what music has become. It's been an opportunity to grow and to have attainable goals, you know, learning a song, learning a chord, what have you. A couple years ago, I don't really know I just kind of stepped out of my shell, so to speak, and decided to start playing at open mics. I never really talked a lot about that experience, but I had a lot of stage fright, an enormous amount of stage fright, and it kept me from performing, especially while playing the guitar. It kept me from performing for a long time. And when I first started coming out to open mics, people would ask me if I had just moved to Saskatoon, because it was just like, where are you from? Nowhere, or from out of nowhere. And no, I've just had been living in the city and, you know, being housebound and sad and not doing the things that I loved. So playing at open mics was a huge way for me to face a fear, because I started to develop some stage fright into my adulthood that had become pretty debilitating. And I've had many, many moments on stage where it's just like I can't think. It just all falls apart in my head. And it still happens, but it's less. It's less. It's something that I feel like I have to stay on top of. If I don't perform or like get on stage for like a week, I can start to feel like those nerves creeping back. So it's been kind of like this great regular commitment for me to have. I've always struggled with being consistent, obviously, Exhibit A, this channel. But I've always struggled with consistency and discipline, habit forming. And when I made it my goal to start playing on stage once a week, I didn't want to just like play the same 3 songs every time, right? So then, because my guitar playing wasn't really at a very high standard, I would have to learn 3 new songs every week so that I'd have something new, or at least 2, so that I have, you know, 2 new, 1 repeat. And that kind of helped me for like the first time in my life to become disciplined to do something every day, because I realized that playing the guitar is not something or practicing the guitar is not something where you can skip practice today and then just do twice as much tomorrow. Like, that's not good enough. You can't do a week's worth of practicing in one sitting. It's not how it works. You know, you have to do little bits or larger chunks, but like every day or almost every day. Like, that's how like skill building happens. That's how we progress. I think that's probably the most obvious thing in the world, but this is something that I have struggled with so much in my life, my whole entire life. And on reflection, I think it's because I often gravitate toward things that are easy to me without having to put in a lot of sustained effort. School would be one of those things. I loved school. I went to university. I loved university. And I've always gravitated toward disciplines where I could just leave it to the last minute and it would be okay. And so, you know, when I was life gave me this like reinforcing idea that you could get away with not building consistent habits. And that's just like simply not the case. There are very few things in real life that you're just going to naturally be able to do without having to suffer through the frustration of being bad at it first, and without having to discipline yourself to do it every single day. And it took me a long time to be able to accept not being good at playing the guitar. I used to just get frustrated if I didn't get something right away, and I just put it down and not pick it up again for half a year. So when I made the commitment to myself that I was going to start going out on stage every week, I had to play like every day. And so I built up calluses, and I built up muscle memory, and I built up skills and confidence, etc. I made friends for the first time, honestly, in my life. Like, I love the friends that I've had throughout my life, but for the first time, I have a group of friends who all love the things that I love. You know, they're all people who like to go watch live music, go to open mics, do fun artsy nightlife types of things. And I've never had that. I've never had a friend group that all just wanted to do this, you know, I would go to something and run into friends there. I didn't even need to make plans. Like I've never had that experience. I've always been kind of like the weird artsy friend in the friend group. So to have that experience as an adult of making friends who love the things that I love and like spending their time in the same ways that I do, it's incredible. Like I've never been like in that way. I've never been so happy in my life. The closest I can think of is when I was in university, because I also, you know, was doing what I loved then, but it wasn't as socially reinforcing for me as music has been. I have always loved writing. That's what I studied in university. I studied English, but I have come to realize, that most writers are not as social as I am. It's kind of like the stereotype sort of does play out. You know, we had like the least active student union when I was in school, and we just didn't really plan social nights, and if we did, nobody came. And the stereotype of like English nerds with their solitary bookish ways is a pretty accurate stereotype. It is a pretty solitary interest, and even though I love writing and I love reading, I just never ended up finding my people. You know, I can have great conversations with people who have also studied the things that I've studied, but as far as like, we're never going to want to go do the same things though, you know, like my friends from university don't usually want to come out to a noisy bar and listen to live music, you know, and that's just all I want to do. So it's just been awesome to finally feel like I'm in a place in life where I make sense, where I'm supposed to be. And it challenges me. Like I said, it helps me to be disciplined and to work on something every single day. Here's like a little jumping off point. So I've talked about mental health on this channel. I have been medicated for ADHD for like a couple years now. I got diagnosed, and that's like a whole different story, right? But it took me a couple tries with a few doctors, and then I found a doctor who agreed to let me give it a try, and then I've seen a couple psychiatrists since then, and so it all makes sense. And it's been also awesome to have a lot of questions answered in regards to the fuck is wrong with me. That is also great. That could be a whole other separate thing. But my point is, you know, I would say for me, maybe like the most debilitating symptom of my ADHD for my whole life has been time blindness. You know, you'd think it'd be like the emotional dysregulation or the rejection sensitivity. And yeah, like those things suck too. But the time blindness, especially before I like had a name for it and was aware of what it was and what I was experiencing, it like robbed me of literal years of my life, you know, like days, weeks, months have went by, stretches of time in the past where I just, you know, didn't look at a calendar for like a month or two, like had no idea what the day was, you know. And this was like a few years ago, like before I started learning about ADHD and all these different deals. Yeah, like time blindness has been such a huge issue for me, and having a diagnosis so that I have tools and so that I can identify these like weird phantom obstacles that seem to obstruct me from success, at least being able to recognize them for what they are and then try to strategize around it has been so helpful for me. My life is not perfect and together, like at all. It's a complete flaming dumpster fire, like going down a hill into the garbage island in the ocean. So like nobody want to be where I am, right? Like we're all on our own path. Don't try to be like me, because you don't know and you don't want it. But do take care of your mental health. That is something that you should do. And talk to doctors until you find somebody who understands and listens. And take yourself seriously and don't gaslight yourself. Yeah, having that diagnosis has been huge. I've had some pretty wild ups and downs with my mental health over the last couple of years. Like I mentioned, I'm the happiest that I've ever been for great chunks of time, and that's been awesome. I also got like horrifically depressed last winter and ended up in the hospital for a couple weeks. So that is something that I would absolutely talk about in a separate video, but mental health advocacy is always something that I've been, or at least mental health destigmatization has always been something that's important to me. And so I wish that somebody had like done a video. I wish before I went to the hospital, I had so many questions and I had no idea who to ask or what to expect. And so if anybody wants like a what to expect before you go to the psych ward type of video, I got you, fam. I would do that. What else? Oh, I've cut my own mullet as far as a hair update. And now I've started doing these friendship bracelet style wraps because the mullet is too far back and I need to grow out some awkward short pieces. But my hair is healthy and curls are better than ever. I do love my mullet, and that's the hair update. I think those are like all the things that I really would wanna talk about in this first intro video. I have moved several times. I lived in my van for a while. I couch surfed on some friends' couches. I slept in a tent in a friend's backyard last summer. I moved in with some strangers I met on the internet, and then I moved in with a friend, and then I moved up north back home with my family a couple times, back to the city, and now I live in an apartment by myself for the very first time. I have never in my life lived alone. This is my first time having my own space, and it is tiny, and it is mine. I mean, it's not mine. It belongs to the landlord. But I have really enjoyed making this little shoebox of an apartment my home. My landlord is cool and let me paint. I picked this very nice light pink color. You can hardly tell. That was what I wanted. Something bright and airy because it's a little tiny basement suite. So that would be the decor update, I suppose. I feel like I can't believe that I got so much like life stuff talked about in like 17 minutes. What the heck? That's great. Okay, so to wrap it up, to go full circle, I suppose. I started out talking about music and I will end talking about music. So what am I up to these days? Obviously, that's kind of like the most common question that I get asked. People being like, I hope that you're okay after your whole Mary Kay MLM experience. And I am okay. It has really taken me forever to be able to recover, I will say. It has, that whole, 5 years in a pyramid scheme experience really has affected my ability to trust myself. I will be very honest with you about that. It's made it really hard for me to pick up the pieces and move into a new phase of life because I have a hard time trusting myself. I have a hard time thinking I deserve things, if I'm going to be honest. And I fear having my my skills used for nefarious means again. And so it's very hard for me to trust myself enough to move forward in something. And I think that that's why, again, music has become such an important part of my life, because I've just realized that, in a lot of ways, music is the most beautiful thing. Like that you can go to a concert or anywhere where there's live music, and you can stand shoulder to shoulder with somebody who might not believe any of the things that you believe at all. And under normal circumstances, you'd absolutely hate each other and have nothing in common and want nothing to do with each other. But in that moment, you could be standing next to somebody who's your total opposite and be, listening to some music that you both enjoy. And that's not to say that everything should be super PC and palatable. I'm not trying to make that point, but I do love the way that music, more often than not, it unites instead of divides. And I think it's fine for music to take a stand, but I will say I don't think it's fine when music divides, which is a weird aside, but I love music. I think it's one of the most beautiful and pure art forms that can exist in and of itself. I've always had a lot of interest in artsy things, but music is something that my throat is dry. It sounds like I'm trying to cry. I'm not. Music is something that has really kind of intersected all the things that I love in the best way. I used to be really, really into acting when I was in high school, and I thought I wanted to be an actor. And with music, I get to be on stage, you know, so I still get to perform and connect with an audience that way. And I started writing my own songs, and so I get to still be a writer. And I started working with a band, and so now I have community, you know, and I've made friends who are other musicians or who are music lovers. And I with music, I've you know, I have an awesome social life and a support system, and a reason to leave the house. And I, in a lot of ways, I really do owe music my life. Not to be dramatic, but I think a lot of people feel that way, and I'm one of them. So it you know, the most frequently asked question, it's not like I get that many questions, but the most asked thing I get is just like, how are you doing? And I hope you're well. How am I doing? Pretty good. Yeah, I would say that I am well. You know, my life is not perfect. I definitely still have some things to figure out, but I'm happy with who I am, and I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happier with both of those things, maybe than I've ever been before. So it's a pretty positive place to be in your own personal timeline, I guess. Like I mentioned, I have started working with a band. I've actually had a couple projects, but this is one that has stuck. We are currently a trio, but we're looking at adding a drummer. So I'm in a real band, guys, and it's super fun. One of the reasons I'm talking about this is because I'm gonna start posting about music a lot more on this channel, and now at least there's like some context. If you're not here for that, if you don't care, that's okay. I will maybe one day make a separate channel for music so that it doesn't overtake the strange randomness that's here, but seeing as how I can't maintain this one channel, I don't know what I would accomplish from making a second one. So there's lots of like life chat stuff that I would be happy to do, but I'm gonna be talking about music and that sort of thing quite a bit for the next while, because that's what I'm into. The guys and I were on a podcast a couple days. It's coming out in a couple days. I will link it to the channel when it does. Come watch it if you want to see us play some songs and talk about our music. That was a really fun interview that we did with it's called the Sit Down Podcast, from a local radio, or it's actually a local like record store called Funky Moose Records. So watch for that. My stage name in music is Lacey Joyce. This is kind of like a scary moment, because I'm like George Costanza in Seinfeld, where the worlds are colliding. My internet presence has been always a little awkward because I've been wanting to have anonymity, but also not. I've tried to have my cake and eat it too, with multiple accounts and things, and I just, you know, what can you can't. I can't do it. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, my music-based Instagram is called Lacey Joyce Music, and I post about things there. It's mostly like catering toward a local crowd, so don't stalk me, please. Please don't come to my city unless you want to come to a show. And then do come and support the music and say hi. That would be cool. That's totally allowed. But don't follow me outside of social media. That's weird. Yeah, I have a podcast coming out. I'll link it here. The lead guitar player in my band, Davin, just released a solo album. So we're thinking of doing a live stream soon. And I think we're going to do it here on this channel, perhaps in this room, maybe. The acoustics seem good. So those are the things that are happening, and maybe you'll see them if I post about them somewhere. I'm going to play a song. I don't know if I've played this on this channel or not before. It's an original song. I wrote it a couple years ago. It's called Gemini Moon. Let me know what you think of it. I might have to tune this guitar again. No, maybe not. I try to do this all in one take, because if I have to edit it, my phone's not gonna like that. This song's called Gemini Moon. I wrote it a couple years ago. I'm thinking of recording it, so tell me what you think, and if you think I should.